Please welcome on stage Dr. Jurgi Camblong.
Hello everyone, great being here today. First thing you should know about me is that I'm not a medical doctor, I'm just simply a biologist, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm as well a dreamer. So today I'm going to drive you through a dream that started in 2011 and which indeed this quarter enabled us to be involved in better diagnosing the first 100,000 genome of patients. So this dream is called data-driven medicine, and why is that? Because we believe that basically, given the data we're producing today in a diagnostic setting in hospitals, we're able to change the way doctors have been treating patients, and moving from an art to a standard, to a science that will be much more precise than what it is today. I'm going to start with the sad news, unfortunately. Most of you know it. 1 person out of 2 in this room, according to Marie Curie Institute, will suffer from cancer. And cancer will remain most probably the first cause of mortality in developed countries. Now said that, we are convinced ourselves that thanks to what I will present you, we're going to be able to master cancer and make cancer a chronic disorder, a bit like HIV today. I'm not the only one who has been dreaming about it. Since we are in a tech conference, I'm going to bring afterwards with me a tech guy, which is very famous. But before that, I need to tell you that we believe this is true because today hospitals have the capacity of finally understanding what's the cause of the cancer. For a long time, we've been treating cancer as a disease of a tissue, while in fact this is pretty naive, because cancer is a disease that is led by mutations in our DNA, and the mutations that will be developed are going to basically block some molecular events and lead to cancer. Now, we believe that thanks to the DNA sequencing of cancer profiles, we're going to be able to spot the reasons of cancer, and we're going to be able, through personalized medicine, to really treat cancer according to the cause and not to the consequence. In 2007, Steve Jobs, so as many of us know, a very visionary person, was diagnosed pancreatic cancer, and at that time he had been among the first 100 person whose DNA had been sequenced with a new technology I'm going to present you. And it seems he has said that he would be either the first one to be cured from cancer thanks to the molecular profiling of his tumor at the DNA level, or one of the last to die from that. 2007 was still early stage, and since then many things happened, and primarily what happened has been the emergence of an amazing technology called next-gen sequencing, and the pioneer in this industry has been a company called Illumina, which I think has been ranked by MIT as the most innovative company over the last 2-3 years. Why is that? Because back in 2007 it would cost $100,000 to produce a molecular profile of the DNA of a patient, while today every hospital can do that for a price which is below $1,000. This is most probably one of the main revolutions that life sciences are seeing since the discovery of the antibiotics after the war. In parallel of this breakthrough, which indeed produced the first digital information of patients ever in an hospital, as you know, because many of you are tech guys, and it was well presented by IBM Watson, artificial intelligence has emerged, and particularly machine learning and pattern recognition principles have emerged. And these pattern recognition machine learning techniques are extremely important to leverage on this data and make this data useful. So, given that we have the technology that is required to understand the cause of the cancer, I think the question is not anymore a technological problem. The question is how collectively we can democratize that. And I'm going to take on stage a second person, which is Barack Obama, and which a year ago explained us very well when he launched the Cancer Moonshot Initiative at the White House, that thanks to genome sequencing, we were in healthcare moving to an era of digital information. And that the next challenge would be actually to do something that looks like pretty simple. Connecting hospitals so that we could pool patient data, we could motivate doctors share their knowledge, and once you have that, as you know, once you have built a network, be able to leverage with artificial intelligence, so that given the diagnosis of patients in the past, one could improve the diagnosis of patients today and give the best ever treatment. So this has been our contribution to the vision of Mr. Obama. Today, thanks to our technology, which is an artificial intelligence called Sophia, we've been able to connect over 270 hospitals, most of them being university hospitals, across 47 countries. And all those hospitals are collectively working so that the experience by diagnosing any of the patients is going to help the diagnosis of the subsequent patient. That's pretty amazing, because as you may know, hospitals don't really tend to like to work one with the other, and don't really like to basically let their data compute by an artificial intelligence. Now, what I'm very proud of is that today, among these 270 hospitals, you have hospitals in Europe, in US, but as well in Africa. And this means that with our approach, we have indeed contributed to democratizing this medicine. Now, what's the secret behind? The secret behind is an artificial intelligence, and the tech guys that are here know that an artificial intelligence is something you build bottom up. And why we've been able to build an artificial intelligence that gives enough benefit to those hospitals, Humanitas being one of them, to use our technology, because it's a unique one that enables you to make genomic data ripe for clinical diagnostics. And there is no secret here. This intelligence has learned from our 50 computer scientists, bioinformaticians that are being exposed while working with all those hospitals to many different cases. And this is what has empowered this intelligence. Just, although it's a bit abstract, to show you the type of data that go out of these amazing machines, which are these next-gen sequencers. So in fact, these machines are producing stretches of about what we call nucleotides. You may know that there are 4 ACTG. And they produce stretches of 200 nucleotides, so basically 200 letters. And they produce them in a complete chaos. This is why they are able of doing that performance so fast. So then the first challenge is putting this in the order, like if you would have a book where you would have to put all the pages in the order. And the second thing is to say what deviates from the normal. So here what you do see is the sequence that goes out of the sequencer. Actually, this is on a gene that predisposed for breast cancer predisposition. And what you do see here is a pattern of deviations against a reference, because in the middle of that gene there has been a transposable element, a virus that has been integrated. We have a lot of percentage of our DNA which are viral DNA, and the older we get, the more it is. And these viral DNAs jump from one region to the other. So if you end up having this viral DNA in the middle of this gene, it means you are killing that gene. It means you are not able of repairing DNA correctly. It means you are going to develop cancer. So you see from this abstract data how an artificial intelligence needs to infer so much information to be able to compute that and tell you what's the answer. So the success has not only been the accuracy that is related to Sophia, but has been as well, and it was mentioned by the previous speaker, Andreas, the emphasis we put ourselves on privacy and security, because we were managing a network, we were managing a community that needs to trust each other, that is providing us, in a SaaS mode, very sensitive data. So we have invested a lot as well on data privacy, and just as an example of that, end of 2016, we made even the cover of Genome Research, where we described the protocols we're using when it comes to encrypt DNA at the digital level, still enabling you to compute that. So that's very often the difficulty between security and usability. You need to be able to protect, but you need to still leave the information computable. This artificial intelligence is, as I said now, available even to Africa. Very simple. People working with us are hospitals that are going to treat patients. They control the data of their patients. The patients can control, as it is the case in Humanitas, their own data. It's quite rare, I should say, and should be everywhere like this. We are just a processor of the data, and indeed this fulfills completely the new GDPR guideline. And we had anticipated that because of the nature of our activity, which is very sensitive data. Now, I've been talking to you a lot about cancer, but you may know as well that such type of approach are valid for many other disorders, and that 6% of the population actually is suffering from so-called rare disorders. So they are rare because they are only present in eventually 1% out of 1,500, but there are many of those. And the more DNA sequencing is being done, the more we understand those diseases, the more we can tackle those diseases, sometimes with surgery, sometimes with drugs. So this has been our contribution to the support, or the contribution to the diagnosis that were made possible by hospitals using Sophia as an artificial intelligence. We've indeed, end of Q1, being able to support the diagnosis of the first 100,000 patients. It's the most used artificial intelligence in the world. To give you an idea, in UK there is a project which is a 300 million project that aims to reach that objective, and maybe this will be reached in 2-3 years' time. And the number of patients we are crunching is increasing to 100% year after year. So this definitively gives us a lot of power in going further. Now, going further is very important because today we are producing other type of data in the hospitals that are extremely useful to cluster patients. And when it comes to cancer, today Sophia is able of leveraging on information such as the tumor type, the tumor stage, the treatment given to a patient, and the success rate of treatment. And why is that important? This is extremely important because if you have this metadata and on the top of that you have the molecular information of the cancer, so the origin of the mutations that lead to the cancer, then you are capable of moving into what we call a real-time epidemiology world, where you are able to cluster patients according to real time and say that this patient that was just diagnosed today looks like the one of 10,000 other patients' tumor, and among which 10% did receive this treatment and survive from cancer. And I think Novartis is going to present afterwards something about pay for performance or pay for benefit of the patients. We can help to target performance. Thank you very much for your attention.